the way we work now has significantly changed compared to how we used to work before. It's been several months that I've personally not written any line of code myself. These days, most of our work is done by AI agents. AI agents, we give them prompts, we tell them what the problem is, how to uh, fix a bug, or we give them instructions, and AI writes code for us. Back in the day, you had to learn languages. Uh, Students learn some language in their university, and then they write programs with them, maybe open source projects, maybe their own projects. There was a long process before you are able to even publish an app, right? Because writing code for a program is not enough. How are you going to host it? How are you going to deploy it? Uh, when it goes live, how are you going to collect metrics? And there's a lot of knowledge you need in order to bring something to production. Now, what has happened is a lot of knowledge is baked into these AI models because they've learned a lot, on a great amount of data, and it also has the ability to read documentation and learn new things. So even if it's not in its own data set or the training data that it was trained on, it can still learn new things and solve the problem for you. All you have to do is this is what I want to do. Now, that means the there is less effort in learning ourselves, the underlying tools and technologies, and then being able to write code in a way that others can easily maintain, review. All of that has been fast-tracked. And now, even if you don't know a programming language, you can tell AI to write code in that language. You can ask AI to translate code from one language to the other, import code. And when it builds the thing, you can run unit tests, ask it to write tests, run them, ask it to write integration tests, run them. You can test the program yourself, give it some feedback, and iterate on the output itself. This is called vibe coding, where you don't even look at the code, you look at the output and you iterate on the output. A lot of people are vibe coding applications in languages that they are unfamiliar with and deploying them to production, building new things. Now, in the workplace, the challenge is that there's a lot of legacy software that has been around because if you're working for a company that's been around, they have a product that they've already released, and there's a significant amount of code. Their challenge is a bit different because if you make changes with AI, AI has a limited context window. Context window is like think of it as short-term memory, where it will load things into the context to understand your world, whatever it's working with. It comes with its own data set, but doesn't know anything about your project that already exists. Now, if you use it to create a project, that's different because then AI is producing the work. But if you already had a project and you're trying to modify it with AI, that's where the risky part is because it has a limited amount of short-term memory context window in which it can load things. And it will load, for example, what existing architecture you have, what the different components of your code do. And if you make changes there, there's a risk that is going to introduce regressions if there's not good test coverage. And also, given it cannot load the entire code base in the context window is limited, right? You have to be now more careful in creating that context for the AI, telling it what to read, what's the important parts. Then your knowledge of the code base is important. But when you're working with something completely new, then you and AI are pretty much on the same level in terms of knowledge. In fact, since AI is doing the work for you, it has more knowledge of the project than you yourself. Right? So these are two different worlds, working with existing code and writing new code or new applications. This means that previously we spend a lot of time in just thinking how to solve the problem, researching, learning ourselves, writing code for it, and not so much in code review, where we ask somebody else to review our code, design, and testing. Although these are good engineering practices that should be common regardless, but it's just that more of our focus as software engineers was in the initial phase of researching and writing. Now that people are producing code with AI, a lot of people are writing, producing code. I won't say writing because they're not writing themselves. They're prompting AI to write code, and AI has a tendency to write very long, uh, functions and monolith classes and things like that. So even a fresh graduate can come in and start producing several files of code. Previously, fresh graduate would join a company, and their first few changes are just few lines of code, like small bug fix here, small thing there. Now everyone is producing so much of code with AI that it's so hard to review the code, right? And and we have to review the code more. Previously, more focus was on writing code, and now more focus has to be on reviewing the code of others. But then it's also not scalable. Like there's so much code to review that you can't carefully review all the code. So that you have to have more automation, more automated testing. We have now started a thing where we do automatic code reviews also using AI. With AI, the problem is that it makes a lot of mistakes, hallucinates. So having one AI agent review your code is also not sufficient. The workaround to that is to have something called a multi-model, multi-agent review, where you ask multiple instances of AI agent to be loaded with different models and ask all of them to review either different aspects of the code or ask all of them to review the same code, but the fact that they're different and they don't have any shared context, so they will work primarily on the description of the change, which is either in the commit message or in the pull request and what the change is actually doing. And based off that, they'll review the code and give feedback. Similarly, doesn't stop here. AI also has to help in automated testing, like writing tests and uh, doing automated analysis of failures of tests. So even though we're plugging in AI in different areas of the pipeline, different stages of the pipeline, human involvement is still needed in later stages. You will see there's studies on the internet if you search. There's studies and experiments where they've said people have expected that AI will make our development faster because now all you have to do is just prompt AI to write code for you. But actually, it hasn't significantly changed the entire pipeline if you're doing your engineering properly. Right? If you just prompt AI to produce code for you and then just don't do anything afterwards, like the necessary things like code review, testing, and fixing issues and whatnot, and even documenting, then Sure, you'll be very fast, but then I posted about this on my page also. You'll be like driving blind on a highway with full speed, right? So if you're going to do the other parts more carefully, there has to be human involvement. You can't rely on AI's judgment. Then it will slow down to balance out compared to the previous entire cycle of engineering. So overall, it hasn't been significantly faster if you're following the same uh, principles that you should be following and not stopping at just writing a lot of code. Because even if you do write a lot of code, you will find that you will frequently cause regressions if you don't have the remaining harness of in production. Like if you're making toy apps, sure, you can vibe code it and leave it at that. But every application that you're working on that has customers, it's live, it's in production, you can't break it. It becomes legacy after like one day because that code needs to not break once it ships to the customer. Right? So what can new software engineers do? They can focus on not only how best to utilize AI, the things, the AI itself as concept. It's not just knowing how to give prompts, but also the things like what are MCP servers, what are skills, how do I organize all my development workflow, knowing the pitfalls, when to use AI, when to not use AI, what things AI is good at doing, what things should not be done via AI. Knowing all of that is essential for every software engineer now. But besides that, more focus has to be on the high level concepts of software engineering. You don't need to know specifics of a given programming language, but the high level concepts like how to do good software engineering, like uh, how to build scalable systems. Because if you don't have that high level knowledge, you can't evaluate whether AI is doing the right thing or not. Right? If you don't have that high level. Right now, for example, if we write code in like any language, Java, C Sharp, whatever, you don't know the underlying assembly language, right? You just build code and you test the output. The output in that case is the binary. You test it by a test that you write against it, and you test it also manually. So if we look at AI also as a sort of compiler that's compiling English into programming language, right? Then you don't need to know the underlying programming language as much as you need to know the high level concepts of how engineering has to be done. So more focus on building scalable systems, how to do proper engineering, what's the right practices to follow in terms of testing, reviewing, deploying, how to safely roll out changes, um, things like that. Then when AI gives you a suggestion, then you can evaluate whether this is a good suggestion or not, whether I should do this or not. So in the past, junior engineers, all they had to do was know how to write code in a specific language, and mostly the problem solving part is left to the more senior engineer and says that tells them, okay, write a function in this class or write an API here, and this is how we write the API. And their contribution is mostly right in writing code. That part has been taken away from them towards AI. So they have to step up, focus more on high level concepts. You can think of it as the most junior position is eliminated in the more practical sense. So everyone has to step one level up and think in the from a higher level perspective, as if the junior software engineer is the AI itself. That junior software engineer knows how to write code. That junior software engineer knows how to research. But then you are the one who's telling that junior software engineer what to do and how to organize work. Because even AI, you can organize a team of AI agents, right? There's got something called agent team or swarm. So even though you may be fresh graduate, you're thinking a bit like a tech lead. And one last thing I would say is because now I don't know if universities have caught up with this change in the industry, or they're still training software engineers as if they're going to write code by hand, and their contribution is going to be writing one or two functions in the beginning and things like that, because that's not the reality, right? So I don't know if universities have caught up or not. Most likely not, because changing the curriculum usually takes time. But you yourself, knowing how the industry works, I would recommend that you start building your own stuff with AI, get a subscription, uh, or download one of these free open source models. If you have a good machine, then download it and run it on your machine. Try to build apps with it, publish them on Play Store, Google Play Store, or Apple Store, or make a website or something like that. Do it purely using AI. Learn the high level concepts, read books, read articles. You shouldn't come to the industry only knowing how to prompt. You should be ready to build things, to test things, and know the high level concepts. So that's your focus needs to be on. I'm not saying that you shouldn't know programming language at all, because you're still going to review some code, right? You can't review a lot of code. Maybe we'll get to the point where we'll might have to stop doing that code review. We're not at that point right now, given how many mistakes AI makes, right? We can't just wave hands and say, everything is good and we're just going to rely purely on testing. We're not at that stage. So you need to know some programming language concepts to be able to review code, but not so much focus on learning frameworks. Like previously, people would be obsessed with learning one framework, the other framework, collecting frameworks one after the other. That doesn't have that much value anymore. Like I recently built 3 apps in Kotlin. I don't know Kotlin. And I used frameworks that I don't know. They're mostly vibe coded. But I am preparing my workspace and teaching AI how to do the engineering properly, how to do the testing of the code, how to ensure that there's no regressions. So my focus is on those high level concepts. And that applies to all of you. At some point, even if we have stepped one level up, we might also notice some convergence in terms of reducing number of levels of software engineers. If everyone is operating like a tech lead and working with this junior software engineer, that's the AI itself, right? And we're working with these high-level concepts, there's not many levels of differentiation of our work. So I don't know if that will change. If there's so many levels of software engineers will not be there anymore. But right now, that's where we are. So now I'll open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, we can go with it.
All right. If you have any questions, please raise your hands first and then ask your question one by one. Yes, please, Sir Hassan, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. I just want to know the story of Sir Hassan, how he actually get into big tech. This is just a bit personal, but I just want to know how we get into big tech. Like, take an example of a fresh graduate from Pakistan. I just want to, uh, have an advice from him.
So I have videos on YouTube where I've discussed this topic. I would recommend you to search there with my name and you'll find. But I will also give a disclaimer that all of that is not relevant anymore because of the industry has significantly changed. I don't know how they're doing interviews right now. I've heard some companies are just allowing engineers to use AI to write code. So um, when I was interviewing, it was a lot about knowing data structures and algorithms, and there's no help at all, right? So I don't know how interviews are being done, what the process is. I've not seen international hiring in Google or Microsoft in the last few years, ever since pandemic has started. I don't know if they're doing hiring anymore from abroad. So my personal journey is not even given I entered the industry or came to US long time ago. It's still there on YouTube. It's not helpful for people right now. So you would need some latest, like even something published last 1 month by somebody and how they got their job. That would be more helpful. I'm not actively interviewing um, as an interviewer, so I'm not familiar with the process. And I haven't personally seen any international hiring. Maybe some companies are doing it still because you see so frequently. Well, it started uh, with the pandemic, but the layoffs, it's happening every year, multiple times a year. Companies just laying people off. So there's so many people in the market. I don't see a reason for them to leave the entire pool here, continue to lay off people, and then hire people from abroad. So, but maybe they're doing it. More helpful thing for people is to be here physically if you wanting to work abroad in some other country. Then being there, you at least remove that one hurdle. Like why any company has to go out of their way to hire from abroad when they have so many candidates in the pool locally available, because there's a lot of paperwork and cost associated with hiring people from abroad. So if you're physically there, whether you went there for your university or something else, or you got some kind of visa, I don't know the immigration process, but if you're there, at least you're part of the same pool that's available locally. So that's all I have on this topic.
Understood. Understood. All right. Thanks.
All right, Setanhat, you can ask your question.
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So my question is about which tech roles are the most safe and valuable in this current AI era? Regarding big tech means nowadays we are listening a term uh, forward deployment engineer. So I want Sir Hassan to add a bit on it, like what which type of roles are currently opening in the market after the changing of this AI era.
I don't know which rules are safe. I feel like nobody's safe unless you're actually using AI to improve your output. If your output is similarly uh, it's not so different than how you used to work before, then that makes you risky for the company because this AI itself is so expensive, the token usage and getting the models and everything. A lot of companies are laying off people to save cost. And anybody who's not changing the way they're working, like I have seen companies uh, encourage, not encourage, almost force employees to use AI and track their usage. And they want people to figure out creative ways to improve their output. So if your work is so manual that AI cannot even help there, which not possible if you're in the software engineering space, then fine, you're safe. Like plumber is not right now afraid of AI unless we get robots that start doing plumbing also. We're not there yet. For all software engineering positions, um, unless a person is really learning and stepping up their game, they're at risk. Less has to do with job function, but more to do with how a person does their work.
Okay, sir, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, sir Hasnan, you can ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. My name is Asnan,
Welcome,
and
Sam.
my question is regarding that, sir. There are some fields like civil which are not very AI driven, and they are very major part of that field is dependent upon manual working. So, how can such a field be integrated with AI? Like we in modeling software, yes, we are getting those AI integrations, but what about groundwork? That AI cannot replace in that particular niche in the groundwork.
Well, robots can be built. They can do the work, and robotics are only increasing the advancements in robotics, field of robotics. So I don't know. It's the specific area experts can come up with some ways of improving their workflow, their engineering, or whatever work they do. I feel like we can benefit from it, no matter what's being done, if a person thinks out of the box. And even if there is no directly help available, see, AI is not just agent running in on your desktop PC. AI can be in the hardware that any person is using manually today. Tomorrow, that person is replaced with a robot, whatever the skill that is. Even if like I cannot be physically, let's say, this whole concept of being humans in the loop, right? If I cannot be physically at 10 places, I can operate maybe 10 robots that ask me questions when they don't know what to do. So I can increase my productivity, even if it requires physical work where I don't do the physical work myself. I can direct any AI robot to do the physical work. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Got your point.
Given, yeah, that's okay. I would encourage systems I'm sorry, I lost connectivity. I'm back. I would encourage sisters to also ask questions.
Yes, sir, Wasif, please ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
Sir, as you talk about the scalable systems, so I would like to get some tips from your side that how we can enforce AI to write scalable code. Basically, I am from mobile app developer, so I would like to know how to build scalable AI mobile applications. As you know, as we prompt the AI, it become our code too much messy. So how we can build such scalable systems?
Well, there is no short answer for this. You just have to learn, read books, especially there's some well-known books. There is some social media accounts. Byte is like good one where you can follow it on YouTube, read their articles, watch their videos, and learn those concepts on like how to build scalable systems. Code being messy is like it's not a scalability problem. It's more of a maintenance problem. But let's say if you have 100,000 users of your application that are online and your application is talking to a backend, how would you scale that backend? How would you deploy it? Requires learning the high level concepts of hosting things in the cloud. So you would focus your learning there, learning those concepts. You don't need to know the specifics of what specific API to call, but just at the high level, when hosting things in the cloud, how to deploy things in the cloud, how to scale things in the cloud. So search on these topics, read books, and then when give the context of what your usage is to the AI agent when it suggests. You can even create one agent and say you are a principal software engineer, expert in distributed systems and scalable systems, and suggest to me a design for this application's backend that I want to host on, let's say, Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, or whatever. Then it will suggest you something. Now, you don't know, if you don't know the concepts that it's suggesting you, fine, take that as a learning point. Go and just learn what it's saying. If it says I should do this, and then say, you can use AI to augment your research also. You can say, spin up another agent and ask it, okay, compare what are the alternatives of this approach? What's the benefits? Like you know how to ask questions. If you don't have the knowledge, right, you can still ask questions. Create one agent that creates you the plan, create another agent that helps you learn. Okay, I've been suggested this, criticize it, and critique this as an expert. Tell me what the alternatives are. Always explore alternatives that it suggests. And then do some research on the suggested options. Even at some point in your career, if you become like a staff software engineer, right? A very senior engineer is not somebody who knows everything, especially when they're working. Like if I am a staff software engineer working with senior engineers working with junior engineers, it doesn't mean that I'm staff because I know everything. It means I am staff because I can ask good questions. I can question their judgment, see if they've done their homework on coming up with this design. So that's how you can operate with AI. You don't need to know everything, know the every little API or how it is used, but what are the alternatives? What are the pros and cons of each option and why this was picked and things like that. See if there is data to back up whatever, because AI can hallucinate and just give you some random thing as a recommended option. Then you validate whether it's true or not. You can search on the internet, see if there's supporting evidence for that. You can ask AI to find the supporting evidence. So that's where your edge is as a software engineer now.
Okay, sir, got it. Thank you.
Sir Clan, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. My question is that if I reach out to an employer on LinkedIn or either I cold email them, then how should I differentiate myself? I can use AI to write the code, and but before AI, I could also uh, build the apps myself. But now, how can I differentiate myself? This is my first question, and my second question is. Uh, what value a human bring to the table, actually why they are actually hiring humans if an AI agent can actually write the code. Yeah, these are very similar questions.
Yeah, for the same reason I explained right now. Yeah, just writing code is not the entire engineering process. It was one part of it. Still need humans, and AI is not perfect, makes mistakes. When AI was being trained, it was trained on a specific data set. That's all it knows. It doesn't know your project. It doesn't know everything latest that comes out. Somebody has to force it to learn things, evaluate options. Humans are still needed. It's just the roles have changed. So look at the job positions that AI companies themselves are posting. Like look at the software engineering positions that uh, Anthropic has, which builds cloud code. Why are they like they build the AI agent themselves? Why are they hiring software engineers on very high packages? Why is Facebook, Google, Microsoft hiring software engineers? Look at their job descriptions. See what skills they're asking for. Like this kind of research you still need to do, right? Especially yeah, if you focus on those companies that themselves are building AI and what they're looking for, that's your edge.
And while outreaching to employers, what should I write in my email?
I don't trust anybody's words anymore. Like it doesn't matter to me what you write. Like for example, if I was hiring, because anybody can write those words, right? If I say XYZ should be written in the okay, anybody can write that. But just like with AI, anything that brings you, you need to cross-reference it and find evidence for it and to see if it's hallucinated or not. Applies to software engineers also. Even before AI, like if 10 candidates apply for a job, then only one, and if only one of them have like maybe contributions on GitHub, their repository, their projects, they have something to show for their uh, resume, something that proves them that they know how to code, something that shows their passion. Maybe they've participated in software engineering competitions. Maybe they've done some won some prizes. Like maybe they've built something that's being used in production. Those kind of things matter, not so much on what words you use. I mean, you still have to make sure you don't have like spelling mistakes and double dashes that shows that this content was produced by AI. Like, still do a decent job in presenting yourself, but just know that words don't have much weight.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum
Sir,
salam.
my name is Mohammed Snaula. I am a student of BS AI, currently in third semester. Sir, first of all, I want to give my review. I mean, like what I am doing. We are doing like basic of machine learning, deep learning, and computer vision things that most of the AI students does in third semester. Sir, as you have said that you haven't coded uh, seventh month till the seventh month. So the thing is like we are doing the machine learning, deep learning things in codes, and we are learning the concept of codes, how to write code. But I saw last night I I built a whole application using Cloud Code, and it was a very complex coding using computer vision, deep learning, and machine learning concept. So, sir, my question is, where my focus should be to get the edge from most of the AI engineers, data scientists, and all the things that AI engineers or machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer. And what should my focus on? Like you have said that books, study books. Sir, what type of books should I study in the field of AI to get the edge? Like what Microsoft think that a person, an AI engineer, should have these qualities. Like coding is a normal thing these days. Everybody can write code using prompt. But what the distinction matters in the field of AI? I mean, for the AI engineers that should be in the AI engineer. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so since I'm not a AI engineer myself, I'm a software engineer who uses AI to produce software. I'm not a machine learning engineer or AI engineer. Your edge in any of these related fields is in the high level concepts. It's fine for you to learn the basics on how to write the code yourself because that lays out your foundation, but that shouldn't be the bulk of your learning because you then come to the industry unprepared for doing the real work. So what those books are for your AI ML that somebody in that field can tell you, maybe some YouTube videos will be there on what the high level concepts are. Just step up in terms of if they're level one, two, three, usually level one is all about implementation and knowing the APIs at the ground level, knowing the frameworks. So if you know the entire ladder, just skip the first step. I mean, not skip it entirely, know some basics, but don't have your bulk of focus be on that step one. Go to step two. That's the general idea.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Noor, please ask your question.
Assalamualaikum. Sir, my
Focus.
question is all about this like how at this time a graduate student can prepare herself for to crack FANG companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, etc.
That was asked earlier in the call. I don't know the answer right now. I myself, whatever process that I went through, it's already on YouTube. But it's so outdated because things have changed right now. I don't know how they're interviewing right now, whether they're even hiring from abroad, even if you are local in the area, because we don't have these big tech companies in Pakistan, right? So you have to be outside the country to be even local. We have them in Europe, we have them in US. So if you some I think some branches are even in Middle East, like Egypt. So if you are in one of those areas, mm, even then, I don't know what the local hiring process is like, where they're still doing interviews in the old classic way, where there's a design interview and there is a coding interview and there's behavioral interview. I'm sure that it's still doing behavioral interviews, but because that's the more human aspect of it. But the technical one might have changed. So I would recommend just searching on YouTube from somebody. Don't look at videos that were published more than a year ago. Look at somebody who got hired 1 month ago. The more recent the experience is, the more relevant it is. Older stuff is all outdated. Things are changing very rapidly. Okay.
Hamid, please ask your question.
Assalamualaikum. You've mentioned that learning high-level concepts is very important, right? So I was curious about if you recommend any specific books or resources. For example, which ones you found the most useful in your journey. You've worked in big tech, so which of the sources or where you've learned from has had the highest return in your day-to-day work at your job?
I've been around for quite some time. So my personal learning of high level concept was not so much about following any specific resource. I didn't have to accelerate it. I had a lot of time to learn. But I would recommend, for example, I mentioned Byte Go is one place where they have articles and YouTube videos. They post on LinkedIn as well. You can learn from them, like on how different distributed systems are built. There's a book called Building Data Intensive Applications. That's for how to build scalable applications. Um, you can, I right now I'm consuming a lot of content on YouTube related to just AI, how to use Claude or Copilot, and how to um, do our engineering using that. Um, you can do the same on consuming that content, but not content consuming content as a form of entertainment, but actually practically using it. Right? There's still learning is not just watching videos and reading things, but actually utilizing those skills, because otherwise it doesn't stay in our memory. So an important aspect, like what I've personally done since like what 13 years of age, is that I have been building things myself, whatever I learned. Right. So if you learn a concept, if you learn something like, for example, this very basic thing, if I am learning, even if I'm using AI, right, everybody can prompt. I went to Claude's documentation to learn how to write a good skill. Skill itself is just like a long prompt in an MD file, but how can I organize that better? Because if you notice, the AI agent itself is not going to read the entire thing if the file is big. So you have to create indexes. You have to have progressive discovery where everything is not in one place. It's just split into different files. And so, and you're telling the agent, if you're trying to solve XYZ, then you read this file, right? Even if you have like this one skill, it has like progressive discovery and split into multiple files. So when I learned this concept, the next thing I do is just go and implement it. This is a high level concept, not related to writing C# or something like that. Once I do this myself, I utilize in my engineering. I then share it with others, which means my team or sister teams or at the org level. So learn these things in terms of how to effectively use whether AI or to how to build apps. If you learn, for example, any app that you build today will require some kind of backend, right? If it does something interesting. Okay. So for that, I went to, for example, AWS had a builders hub. I don't know if the term is same right now. They have articles on uh, different aspects of distributed applications, on increasing their reliability or observability or things like that. So I've read those articles. You can read them too. Don't summarize them with AI and just read the summary to accelerate your learning. That's not, because then your knowledge is going to be shallow. These are the high level concepts for which you might need to spend more time on. Reading the entire article or watching the detailed long YouTube videos, reading a book. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Right. So we have last participant.
Yes,
Talha,
thank you.
please ask your question. Sir Talha, are you there?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, sir, what is the worth of open source contribution in your point of view? Means, as you have earlier mentioned, while we are reaching to someone or applying for a job, we have to show them something related to the work we have done, or any prizes we have won, or any hackathons or competitions for such projects. So, what is the worth of open source in all of them? Like, if a person is contributing to open source, so it will help him to crack a good job in this current era.
Okay. So this term crack is used so frequently in online YouTube videos and whatnot, which makes it sound like there's some kind of secret formula, like a cheat code in a game, where if you know this, then you get guaranteed an outcome. So there's a book I read it, Cracking the Coding Interview. There's no such thing as cracking anything, right? There is no secret to it. I cannot assign a value or a number to, okay, this person has GitHub repository or some open source project. So 2 more points. No, there's no point number system like that. There's no specific worth, but there is a high level concept that applies in personal relationships also and applies professionally also. Do you have just words or do you have something to show for your words? Right? You can apply this everywhere. Having your open source project is a proof of your work. It shows passion, because if you have 10 software engineers, chances are 9 of them are just in that field because somebody forced them into. Maybe parents said this is an emerging field, there's lots of money, and let's just go there. And or maybe they went there because everybody else was going there and they didn't know what to do. Maybe one person went there because they genuinely love building things, and they do that in their spare time. That kind of person is more likely to be doing things outside of their work, outside of their. If they're in university, then they're not focused only on doing their project and assignments. They're building things because they enjoy it, right? It's hard to know the intention of anyone. Like somebody could be putting out things just because they're trying to crack an interview. You can't know the intentions, but at least you see the outcome, which is not what everybody does anyway. Like it doesn't have to be open source either. Like if I have 10 apps on the Play Store, and 10 is not a number, or it's not a metric. I'm just giving an example. I want to make that clear. But if somebody has something to show for their claimed passion, right? Everybody who wants a job will come to say, I'm very passionate, right? They're going to say these words that are empty without proof. So your open source project shows your passion. It's a proof of your work. Even if it's not open source, it's published somewhere. If you have a website or something like that, it just shows that you have you're not like rest of the people, majority of the people who don't go out of their way to do anything extra. Because these things take time. These things take extra energy. And somebody has to sacrifice something to do that extra. It's easy to spend time watching like social media, YouTube videos, and whatever, Instagram, and do everything else. But if you're choosing to do this extra stuff, you're sacrificing something else, right? And that means that something is important to you. So that's the idea.